I just nearly screwed that up right off the get go. And we are live. Word of advice: when you go live, don't double click the go live button because it tried going live and ending it all at the same time. All right. Yeah. Thanks for coming, everybody. Bye. All right, everybody. Yes, it's 9:15, at least our time. We're rolling a little bit behind. That is because, though, it has been yet another crazy week for both of us. And I was also having some fun arguing with YouTube on what's the appropriate size for a thumbnail when it comes to megabits. And yeah, that was a fun little argument. But, anyways, here we are. It is another Wednesday night. It is yet another discussion about gaming. But this time, we're going to try to have a little bit of fun tonight. And I say fun because you know what? I thought, why don't we just leave Mickey in the dark? Why do we not just not tell him what we're going to discuss? And, we're going to have a discussion about some of the more important things in gaming, like what is Master Chief's favorite flavor of ice cream? What do you think, Mickey?
Uh, you know what? I'm gonna have to go with. I'm gonna go with Neapolitan. That sounds pretty good.
I thought he was more of a pistachio guy.
That's possible. I'm just guessing. So.
No, we are not going to have that. They're probably like, yeah, and unsubscribe, and I'm done. But okay, nope. Let's just start off a little bit, shall we say, into the easy street. So one thing that we are having a big issue with, and it stems from. Now, we probably came here. There's other issues occurring in Game Pass, but this is more like the soft toss, shall we say, at Mickey. So there is some issues going on with Game Pass. Not issues that we're gonna. At least this one issue is going to be extremely trivial. You might even chuckle at it. But let's talk about the big thing that I seem to have a problem with. And that is, for whatever reason, even though I'm playing a damn game, I'll buy a damn game, and then I'll go back to playing that game, forget I bought that one freaking game, and then buy a different freaking game, and it perpetuates this freaking psychotic cycle of buying games and not playing them like you should, and then all of a sudden you create this immense monster known as a backlog. And the whole thing is exasperated by Game Pass at this point. So let's just kind of start, for if we want to compare inches to inches here. Mickey, what's the size of your backlog?
Mine is, I want to say 150 roughly at the moment.
That you need to play, or is that just the size of your library?
Well, that's the size of my library, but I kind of need to play those, so that is the size of my,
What game is it, like, off top of your head? Like, we all know you keep going back to Skyrim. What game is it that you bought is sitting in your backlog right now that you're like, God, I gotta play that shit?
Dude, it's like most of them. I would say if I want to pick one, I'd go with Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Wait a minute, hands are full.
Because that game I've played, and I've actually created new games multiple times, which I need to stop doing.
Which one?
And Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Okay.
And I keep remaking games because I take a large gap away from it. So I'll go back into it, create a new game so I can, kind of refresh. And I'm getting nowhere. So I need to get into it and actually get into it and get into it deep so that I don't keep refreshing, having to create new games to refresh it. So, but that's one game that I really want to, keep, take down the rabbit hole. So,
See, that's one thing I could say I definitely don't do a whole lot is the whole new game plus or, starting a game over. I try to avoid that. And it sometimes gets hard because, this is where I still stand by. In my opinion, every game should have what is known as the welcome back feature, where you go into your settings or your options and you click turn on welcome back mode, and literally the game will give you like a tutorial of the game or have little pop-ups to help you with the tutorial. And that's where, so that way when you've like stopped playing a game and come back like 6 months later, you don't got to start the game over because you completely forgot how to play the game.
Phil, I've got problems.
We all got problems, Mickey. That's the funny part. So that's hilarious. Let's get into it. So welcome, Yobi. Thank you for sharing out the stream. Thank you every single night for being here. But you'll be listening.
Thank y'all.
Yeah,
Heck
your hands are full. I know you're probably got hands are full right now. Oh, and the Sony business meeting, not good. See, here's the thing. I have been trying to find stuff on, but it's only like 2 hours old. I didn't want to bring that up until later on. Like, I mean, like right now, when it comes to the Sony like corporate meeting, whatever they just had, you have something 42 minutes ago from Reset Era. You've got other stuff that's only Icon Era that's only 2 hours old. I am not going to go traipsing into Reset Era or anything era to try to deliver you guys any kind of relevant information. I'm essentially going to sit back and wait for the publications, the gaming media. That's a total point of contention right there. Like, yeah, I mean, like, holy cow, the meeting was over 2 hours long. And we know there was some people that probably watched that stuff acting like they freaking are stakeholders in Sony because they own a damn PlayStation. And I've heard some jokes that there was a lot of talk about like movies and other stuff Sony is doing, but there was very little when it came to the roadmap for first party games out of their studios. And that's, what the funny part is, like we talked about this in an earlier show, it may have been last week or the week before. Right now, Xbox and PlayStation both are in this funk of a purgatory of where they are like rediscovering themselves. And so I definitely want to say that PlayStation, for the most part, is probably going to have some production woes when it comes to delivering games on a regular basis like they have in the past. But also at the same time, I think because of Xbox spending so much money, that they are going to have a little bit more of a heftier release when it comes to games on a more consistent basis. But that is where, we'll get into the conversation, but I just wonder exactly, can Microsoft ever get over the big hurdle that they have to face, which we'll discuss here in a sec. But, we're just letting everybody come in. Definitely, I know tonight, I'm hoping we get a lot of people on the replay because there is a lot of people that are still consuming the Sony business meeting. But, that's where I would rather wait till next week to actually kind of have a more relevant conversation on that than just kind of talking about, crystal ball theory, as we call it. But when it comes to backlogs here, so I have an asinine digital library. I just have this thing of I want to play anything. I have a bigger problem than Mickey. He can't make enough characters, and I can't play enough games and figure out which one I want to play. So while Mickey is over here with the different characters being the town bicycle in any MMO or RPG, I'm over here essentially being like the city bicycle when it comes to like every game is going to get a play out of me. Um and like so as for me, I like you said Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right?
Hmm.
I need to play that game, but now I feel kind of like FUCK'd because dude, we've got Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out in November and I'm like, dude, Odyssey took like 300 hours. There's no effing way. There's no way. I'm screwed.
I'm going to assume Shadows is probably going to be pretty huge too, if not bigger than Odyssey.
See, that's the only thing. Are are Assassin's Creed games a little bit too big?
To me, no, because games that are fast, that you can beat fast, I don't prefer those. I'll play them, but I don't prefer them. I prefer the large games.
Well, the problem is so the problem. So this is one situation. People have associated a quality game with the size of the game. But when you're more hyperbolically focused on creating a large experience, a large expansive experience with tons of exploration, hunting and tree climbing and swimming and all the horseback riding, all the stuff that could go into making it a truly expansive game. We thought it was amazing in Skyrim, but now in comparison, Skyrim's a tiny ass little game compared to some of the stuff they've created now.
Yeah, that's true.
But have we seen instances of where now games are a little bloated? Rather than making the world a little bit smaller, having a little bit more of a cohesive story with side quests that actually function within the story, that kind of like add on to it or create a little bit more of the atmosphere. You get instances like, Horizon Zero Dawn. I left my prosthetic leg over in this area. Can you please go fetch my prosthetic leg? Could you imagine in real life if somebody's like, I left my prosthetic leg somewhere like an idiot. Will you please go fetch it? And why'd you leave your fake leg somewhere? Why?
Well, that's fair, but as far as large games go, it's not necessarily that I want all the large games, but there are certain large games that the ones that I like and they're large, that's fun to me because there's a lot of stuff to do because usually there's a lot of customization, a lot of stuff to do, and I like that. That's my preference. It's all preference.
Oh, to me it works. To me it works, but when it feels like it's just like it was made big to be big, it wasn't made big to really, with Assassin's Creed games, you kind of like have that whole historical perspective. Origins, it was exploring Egypt, checking out the pyramids and the other stuff that can be offered. Same with Odyssey, same with Japan with Shadows. And another one like Ubisoft's Avatar. That's a very big game. Oh, there's the check in the ESO message. Anyways, so Avatar, I've been recently playing the hell out of Avatar. I bought it when it came out. I got distracted by other games that came out, and now I'm finally about to I want to say I'm probably 3/4 of the way through it. And I want to say that game is very underappreciated. And the reason why I say it's underappreciated is, for starters, today I had to give a ride to somebody I work with down 20 minutes down the freeway. And and he's actually asking me about Avatar because he asked me, he's like, what are you playing? Well, I'm playing Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. And he's like, what is that? He's like, I love the Avatar movies. I didn't even know they made an Avatar game. I'm like, oh my God. So for starters, is this an issue with marketing? But at the same time, Avatar is so when you first start playing this game, it's a very dull game. You're locked inside a building, all these grays and different shades of gray and black and white, very ugly looking game. it can be very, shall I say, deceiving. And then you go through the process, and it's like that moment where you left the vault in Fallout and the sun hits your eyes, and all of a sudden it's like, bam, wasteland. Well, the sun hits your eyes, but when your eyes focus, you don't see a wasteland. You literally see Pandora. The the greens, the blues, the reds, the purples. Like, it was like, holy cow, this is a freaking beautiful looking game. Um, and I mean, just going through and flying over everything with the Ecron, um, and doing all the essentially the takeover sites that are similar to Far Cry because it's an Ubisoft game. I just really feel that for those that are actually into Avatar or enjoyed playing Far Cry games, you would love Avatar and you should really go check it out. Check some videos out on YouTube. I'll put some gameplay coming up in some future videos of Avatar. But that's where I just feel it's a very unappreciated game. Now, Mickey, is there like a game that you've played recently that you feel, or even in the past, that you feel is very underappreciated that you thought was absolutely amazing, but a lot of people just either have never heard of it or they just kind of like hate on it for the sake of hating on it?
Yeah, Suicide Squad.
Okay. Now, like, you know what? Go ahead and tell me why.
Because it plays wonderfully. It's a beautiful game, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I still don't know why people were hating on it because that game is just immense fun. I mean, there's again, I'm a customization guy, and it does have some customization in it. The gameplay is smooth. It's fast, which is good for that style game, and I just enjoy it. I think the story's cool, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I still don't know why people were hating on it so much. It's crazy.
Well, they're hating on it because of the same other BS that goes on. Apparently, it's that four-letter word that everybody tries to label everybody as nowadays. We know what it is. Begins with a W. And also apparently, these game companies are teaming up with these other companies to like push narratives on us or to like somehow affect our thinking. And heaven forbid that the world finds out that there was an African American samurai, because apparently the same people that love to push that agenda are trying to now. It's kind of like they hop from game to game to game, just looking for something to cry and bitch about. And right
Oh yeah.
now, the two major targets are Ubisoft games, which are Assassin's Creed, Shadows, and Star Wars Outlaws. And all I apparently need to say to that whole situation is if you're trying to say anything about Star Wars based on like a political alignment or the way you feel about the female form, you need to go watch some Star Wars, because in my opinion, uh, God, like, Star Wars is not known for, I guess you would say, sexual eye candy. Best way to say it. The closest we got was Princess Leia in the outfit in Return of the Jedi. Other than that, like, the Star Wars movies have been very, very, like, let's just say they're not over here trying to like objectify anybody, especially in their costumes or their looks. And I just
Mm-hmm.
really feel that maybe Star Wars Outlaws just went down that road. And also, you know, like, I have to laugh because, then you get the other half of the argument that all of a sudden, so if you guys didn't know, since Ubisoft came out and shown Assassin's Creed Shadows, and they actually told people who they modeled the African American samurai after, all of a sudden there has been 50 alterations towards the wiki, because we know on wiki, on the wiki website, it's actually maintained by the public and they can go in and
Mm-hmm.
make additions to
Change
stuff,
it. Yeah.
change
Yeah.
it. Well, apparently, a bunch of people wanted to make sure that they put in there that he was not considered an actual samurai, and some samurai experts went and weighed in on this and had to school all these guys and explain to them the term of samurai is to serve, and they were fine. They were like, well, he was a retainer, and they were like, yeah, a retainer is basically a samurai that is on moments call. Like at a moment's call, this guy has to answer the call to his clan leader. And like, yeah, these guys went and like literally schooled all the people that were trying to put this narrative that Ubisoft is over here just trying to like push some kind of false narrative for brownie points in the political climate that we live in right now, without ever doing any kind of homework and discovering that this individual did exist and he did hold the title of a samurai. And for all the people that don't understand samurai culture, decided to try to like put their own spin on reality, and they got schooled real quick. It was actually really funny to watch.
Hmm.
So now, speaking of underrated games, there is one underrated game that has recently been put into Game Pass. I beat it. I played it and beat it the day it came out. It was overshadowed by Starfield. The hilarious part of this game, though, is I actually did not play Starfield until a few days. Like I bought like the little upgrade to play the game a couple days early, and you get the little like cosmetic little goodies or whatever the hell that come with it. I was obviously there to play it a little early, Starfield, but I didn't go like deep into Starfield until after I beat this game. Now, the reason why I want to say it's a little underrated is because the studio that created it has been having some woes. A lot of people thought EA was going to like really shut them down, but it turns out that EA is actually, I guess, putting all the revenue that this game is still making towards the studio to help keep the doors open or whatever's going on there. And like this kind of goes into a bigger issue of people are enjoying this game. It's actually getting a second wind in the Game Pass service. But this is where I don't feel like Game Pass is a great service. It saves a lot of money, but we should never, ever go down this path of just wait for it to go to Game Pass. Always like, never buy a game again. And I'm not going to say that any particular group of gamers does not buy games. I am just saying that if a game appeals to you, there is no harm in actually owning a game. If you want to essentially just wait for it to go into Game Pass because you don't have all the money in the world, that's a different story. But don't act like no game is worth your money, especially in today's climate where we're seeing a lot of studios get closed and a developers laid off. And, you know, as much as we're all struggling for money, if you do have a game that kind of hits if you wait for the game to hit $40, $30, whatever, cool. I'm just saying, don't like be a holdout and hoping that Xbox is just going to shovelware everything into Game Pass. So the one game I'm talking about is Immortals of Avium. I thought it was a good game. I really appreciated the graphics for it. The story was very interesting. I would definitely say it also kept you guessing. There was some high and low points to the story. There was also some climactic events that you were just like, oh, damn, I didn't see that coming. Okay. What's going on, Mickey? I don't know. I got a major lag on. All right. Well, whatever that was. Yo, what's up, Boba Fett? Yeah, my chat wasn't updating, and I was getting like the spinning wheel of doom. So I know, right?
the lag wheel.
So, Immortals of Avium. It is a first-person shooter, but it does not have guns. You essentially have these bracelets, these 3 bracelets that you wear. Each individual bracelet uses its own individual type of magic. The magics are color oriented. You have green, blue, and red. And that's where you need to be. And that's the funny part is the magics aren't like also green is a very fast paced magic. Like you could like it's like rapid fire. The blue is a very slow fire. Like it's like a spear. Like you hold your hand up and the spear forms in your hand and you chuck it at somebody. So it's more of like a sharpshooter style magic. And then you have the red magic, which is considered like this blast wave magic, which is essentially like a shotgun. So green is machine gun, blue is sniper rifle, red is shotgun. Very easy concept to really grasp. And you have different bracelet types that will affect the fire rate, how big the blast waves are, and also damage rates. You can even upgrade them. And that was what was cool about it. It was all based on magic. And there was a great story to go along with it. I had an absolute blast playing the game. It's now just getting, yo, what's up, Blue? So, yeah, and the funny part, Blue is actually checking out Immortals of Avium now. In my opinion, if you have Game Pass, check this game out. For those that really let Starfield overshadow Immortals of Avium, I had an absolute great time playing the game. Go back and check this game out. And that's why I always stand by on saying don't hold like I know not everybody I will never assume anybody's made of money. I'm just saying that if a game appeals to you and you really can afford it and you really want to play it, like I know like it Game Pass is a great thing, but also at the same time not everything is always going to come to Game Pass. This time it did, and now all of a sudden everybody's talking about Immortals of Avium, but it almost feels like the damage has already been done because the game did not hit sales expectations. The developer had to lay people off, and they're basically under some very critical scrutiny, close scrutiny by EA. And generally, when you're under the regime of EA, that can turn into a bad thing. But what do you think, Mickey? Like, especially when it comes to games going into Game Pass, are you like? I know, like, we're not all we don't. Nobody should be considered made of money, but do you wait for stuff to go into Game Pass? Do you not wait for stuff to go into Game Pass? I've even found myself a little guilty of taking advantage of, like, when somebody tells me like something's going into Game Pass, I'll like Lies of P, absolutely amazing game. For whatever reason, that game has not gone on sale, but I played it and beat it all the way through Game Pass, and now I'm just like, if that game kind of comes in at a certain price point, I will probably pick it up later in the future. But to completely say that a game is not worth your time unless it is in Game Pass, I just really feel that Immortals of Avium was kind of like dealt a little bit of a double whammy here because it was overshadowed by Starfield. And then also there was the issue that a lot of people were hoping that with the partnership with EA that Xbox has, that they were just going to hold out for it to go to Game Pass.
Well, when it comes to waiting to see if a game goes on Game Pass to purchase it, if I see a game and I'm interested, I'm going to buy it. So I'm not going to wait till it goes on Game Pass. If I see games go on Game Pass and I look at them and I read the, what the induction is for it, then I'll just, I'll download it and play it. But if I see a game come out, because I bought Immortals of Avium. Actually, I think I got the
you and I both picked up the deluxe
edition.
Yeah,
we got the deluxe edition. Because we were interested in it at the time. So if I see a game and I'm it's interesting to me, I'm gonna purchase it. I won't wait till it goes on Game Pass. That's just me. If I have the money, I'm gonna purchase it. So, if I see a game on Game Pass that I don't really don't know much about, then I'll download it off Game Pass. But if I see a game and I'm interested, I'm gonna buy it. I'll buy it.
What intrigued you about Immortals of Avium?
Um, the like how the powers work with the bracelets and stuff. That was cool because I think we'd seen a video or a trailer or something, and you might have even sent it to me. I can't remember, but when I watched it and saw how the bracelets work and the different abilities from those bracers, that caught my attention, and I thought that was cool because it's different, and you can upgrade them or whatever. So I thought that was cool. That's what really caught my eye about that game was it was different as far as how the attack abilities work because it's based on the bracelets. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And I know you still have to finish playing it, but that's
Oh yeah,
because like when I set my mind to beating a game, I will go through it, and the story definitely uh it was one of those stories where sometimes you can guess, like, oh, this is what's going to happen. I tried doing that with Immortals of Avium, and then as I did, it was just like things were not going the way I thought they were. And then as you start getting into the story and start finding out a little bit about some of the stuff that the act, because you have the Immortals, obviously the Immortals of Avium, and the Immortals have their adversaries. And when you really get into the politics between these two groups, that's when you start kind of like, whoa, okay, things are not as they seem.
yeah. I need to finish that one. I definitely need to get back into that one to finish it.
I buy everything. I'm irresponsible with my money when it comes. Dude, yeah, Boba Fett. I feel your damn problem, dude. I feel your problem. I'm like, when I sometimes get games, I'm like, I might play that 2 months from now. I'm gonna get
that's
it.
that's why our library is so stacked.
Oh, dude. And then I also, dude, Boba Fett, and it gets double whammy for me because sometimes I'll also like when you're sitting there and you've had a few beers in you, you start shopping for your wife. I think she'd like to play this. And then, but you did like, babe, I bought you a game. And she's just like, dude, I don't play video games as much as you. I bought you a game though. See, Blue says new franchises need to be in a service. I don't know, man, because that's the only thing. I'm one of those that were like, new franchises were now back in the day. New franchises didn't have subscription services for them to drop themselves into. Maybe we could have like a 1 hour demo or something like that for people to get a little bit of a taste of the story and the gameplay and all that good stuff. Um, don't be like Konami and do the sand game that they just came out, because that demo was completely lifeless and you had no anything that's story related was like locked down. The demo actually convinced me that I didn't need to buy the game. But he wa- wait, who wants NCAA? Is that new football game, Mickey?
Yeah, it's college football
Are you gonna
because
end up picking?
there hasn't
Are
been a
you
college
hyping for
football.
that too?
I might play it. I might, maybe, possibly. I don't know because I've lost faith in the Madden games, and usually the college football games are Madden with college teams and stuff. So I don't know. I got to do a little bit more research into it before I think about that.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. And Base Digi, I feel you on
Thank
that.
you,
He
everybody.
says, I got Game Pass and I buy more games than I ever did. I'm right there with you. Like, rather
Yeah,
than sitting there, like, I
yeah,
got $20 in my pocket. Oh, I'm going to go
yeah.
play something in Game Pass, and I'm going to go spend $20 on a game that's not in Game Pass. But then I also buy stuff in game. Like, so, guys, I bought Outriders. I was there for Outriders day one. And you know what? I actually have no regrets on that now, because I waited like probably a year after that game came out. When I played it, it had been patched, fixed. I had an absolute great time playing Outriders. I think Outriders had like a way better grip on my attention and also what I was looking for in a game than Destiny. But maybe that was just because Destiny Bungie kind of killed me when they started taking content away from me. That pissed me off, but um demos are the way of the dinosaur, but that's where the funny part is I really don't think I don't think demos should be the way of the dinosaur because like let's put it like a good example was Anthem. When people played like the demo of Anthem, they were like, "Oh, whoa, wait a second. Is this really what the game's going to be like?" And then it turned out to be that way. It really helps you make a decision based on, do I like the mechanics? Does it look like something I'm going to have? Does the gameplay loop work for me? I know it seems like a little bit of a dinosaur style way of doing things, but I just really do feel that with here's my so getting into a problem is I have noticed that the gaming media really likes to dictate to all of us, like we're like just sheeple running around, and that they are God's gift to my ignorance, and that they've got to inform me on what a good game should be like, how it should play like, and on what kind of a story should it have, and what political ideology this game should also have, and I need to frame my likes and tastes around what they dictate to me as my gaming overlords on what I should really like. But thankfully, I was raised in a halfway decent school system, at least in an elementary school, where I had some really good critical thinking skills instilled in me, and I don't need some like sheep herder of a gaming media company trying to tell me how I should feel about any game. Um, and that's one of the things that really bothers me about what's going on in gaming is like if my like how these gaming media journalists really dictate to us on what is a good game. I really feel now more than ever, like Blue pointed out, any new franchise should be in a subscription service. If it can't be in a subscription service, then it needs to be somewhere where somebody can play, like we've seen, like where you have like an hour or two with the game before you, like a trial or a demo. So that way people can form their own opinions about how the game functions and looks and all that other stuff, actually giving the developer a chance rather than having the scenario of like what IGN did with oh my god, what freaking game was it? They didn't get a
Isn't
review.
that kind of why they why they do the betas stuff though?
Betas are generally there for testing like the multiplayer servers.
But I mean, you're still getting kind of an idea of how the game works.
Right, but think about a single player experience like Immortals of Avium. There's no multiplayer server to test. So generally, like that's where you don't really have a beta. You have either like a demo or a trial. Kind of like like a lot of Ubisoft games have like a 1 hour trial where you can play the first hour of the game. Stuff even in single player games. But what game was it? Could somebody please remind me? In the chat, it was IGN threw a complete tis fit that they didn't get a review copy. No, it wasn't Starfield. Was it Starfield?
No,
like it was very recent.
Didn't you say it was? Hold on, I'm trying to think. Oh, you talked about it too. Freak, what game was that? I'm trying to think of the recent games.
Suicide Squad.
That's what it was. It was Suicide Squad. That's right.
Yep. Well, I know they get a bag, but that's the other thing that we've noticed is so you just can't walk up to Xbox and say, "Put from the leaks from the FTC thing with them buying ABK, we saw a little bit of their grading system on how they determine what a game is worth based on engagement in the Game Pass subscription service. And that's where for the most part, you can come out and say that you're interested in as hell to have it in Game Pass, but from what we've heard from certain developers, you do have to be invited to be in Game Pass. And if by some chance you don't really either pitch your game correctly or have this viable product, because don't get me wrong, there is some games in there you're just like, the one game that comes to mind is Hypercharge. The game is getting ready to come out. I've already got it pre-ordered. I know Mickey and Blue are going to be picking it up, and we're going to be there day one. I've been telling other people about it. Now, that's where Hypercharge kind of goes into a different realm, because I don't really know if he tried to talk to Microsoft about being in Game Pass. He put out a lot of social media tweets about wanting to have his product in Game Pass. It was like he was almost like soliciting himself to Microsoft to have his product in Game Pass, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen, and his game is not in Game Pass. I could not tell you why. I mean, I really do feel that it should be there. So, like, we could go back and forth all day. Like, did they not offer him enough money? Did he not market his game correctly to make Microsoft think that it was going to be a subscription seller? I don't know, but definitely, yeah, fully downloaded. I know. Now we're all just, I know, Yobi, we're like stuck in the holding pattern waiting. Apocalypse level 7. We should play. Okay, yeah, I'm dude. Dark Child, we're always here to play games, and definitely I would re-download Outriders. I have a fully leveled up Technomancer. I know I even went through the World Slayer DLC, and I'm at that temple that you got to run with people that you can't do by yourself. So, and that's where I wanted to, like, I'm trying to get Mickey to go back in with me, because in the original Outriders, you had what was, it was like some kind of storm at the end of the game that you had to like do all this stuff and accrue kind of like this point system to essentially get it to where your character was powerful enough to make it to the eye of the storm to fight whatever was at the eye of the storm. I know it was supposed to be some epic boss battle. But when it came to, you can play probably 85% of that game by yourself, no problem, as long as you understand the game mechanic. It's not like Destiny where you shoot and hide behind a rock and your health reappears. At least when you played as the Technomancer, you had to melee opponents to essentially get health, which made it to where if you tried hiding behind rocks the whole time shooting at guys, you would eventually run out of health and you wouldn't get any health because you're not doing what you got to do to achieve that. And that's where playing as the Technomancer, it was extremely aggressive, where you'd find yourself shooting at guys, and as they would hide behind their little rock to start reloading, that's when you find yourself running up and you're starting to melee guys and actually have a very aggressive in-your-face play style. But that's where getting into Immortals of Avium and, like we said, our gaming overlords, the gaming media. The reason why I kind of bring up this whole conversation when it comes to the gaming media, and this is why I constantly say we need to stop giving them this absolute end-all be-all recognition. Like, I hate how all of this week we've been seeing Metacritic scores flying wildly because Hellblade 2 came out. I like, for me and Mickey, we're not going to lie to you. Neither one of us downloaded the game and played it. I know it's going to be a good looking game, but I'm also able to say that at least right now, it's not what I'm looking for in a game. And that's where it's also a cheaper game as well. Yeah, definitely. You could pick up Outriders for very cheap right now, especially the complete edition with the World Slayer content. So it's kind of funny. like right now with what I'm going through in gaming, I'm like frothing at the mouth for Star Wars Outlaws. Why? I just went and saw the Star Wars Phantom Menace 25th anniversary. My wife went with me and it like dragged her in. She finally smoked the crack rock known as Star Wars and she is hooked. She has already watched episode 1, 2, and 3 with me. We're pretty much all the way through the Mandalorian series, and we just watched Obi-Wan, and now we're gonna start going down the road of like Solo, Rogue One, and then we're gonna get into the original Star Wars movies before we get into the newer stuff that Disney created when they purchased LucasArts. So right now, I'm frothing at the mouth for a Star Wars experience. I've even gone back and started playing Knights of the Old Republic a little bit here and there. Me and Mickey, Ask Blue, once, twice a week, sometimes more, we're grinding out probably 2-3 hours a night on Battlefront 2, the 2017 Battlefront 2, not the old one.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just having a blast playing.
It's fun. It's actually a fun game.
Oh, it really is. And we're having a blast playing these first person Star Wars shooters. So to go from what our brains are currently craving to Hellblade 2, like we tried playing Hellblade 1, but that's where now we're starting to find out, like it's starting to kind of go with, unless you're absolutely frothing at the mouth, ready to have an experience like Hellblade 2, if you're wanting to play first person shooters or a different style of game, then it's not going to hit for you. But that being said, I do have to laugh at some of the, even some of the comments that I heard from some of the reviewers, reading some of the reviews, and I have to agree with some of the Xbox guys out there. What in the F is the media expecting? Do they want Sinua to come out there with a red stripe down her face, a shield on one arm, and a mystical axe in the other that you can throw and return, and she's got some boy next to her, and he follows her around shooting arrows at it, and they essentially the synapse of God of War? Like, do we want Sinua? Like, that's what I have to laugh. And this is why I'm totally kind of frustrated. And anytime it's kind of funny. Like, I'm always giving the middle finger to the gaming media because they're over here trying to dictate what is a good game when the only thing that they are dictating to me is a perpetuation cycle of the same old damn thing over and over again. To steal a line to make you guys laugh, it's like when Roman Reigns on the WWE confronted John Cena, the you don't see me, hustle, loyalty, respect, the sweatbands. John Cena is predictable, and it's like what Roman Reigns said. It's like getting missionary every damn night over and over again. And it's the same concept with the gaming media. They just come out saying, we want these third person, over the shoulder, narrative driven experiences that have A, B, C, and D. And if they don't have A, B, C, and D, it's not my cup of tea. I'm not going to grade it right or be objective. I'm just going to sit there and play the same old damn fucking story. Well, I wish it was more like a PlayStation game. Dude, allow developers to have a little bit of creative freedom. Allow developers to feel a little bit of recognition for the blood, sweat, and tears and all the hard work that they do and all the missed family dinners and all the crap they've got to deal with to create these games for us, just for you to come out there and tell them you should have been like that guy. Like, how does it feel when you're sitting at your job right now and your boss looks you in the face and says, why can't you be more like Dave? I love Dave. Dave does things better than you. You need to be like Dave. What? That's kind of, what happened to individualism here? Like, I'm not a crappy worker. I may not do things the way Dave does them, but I get the job done. I do an amazing job. I've got great customer service skills. Customers rave about me all the time in the reviews, and I make you a hell of a lot of money. I feel like, dude, I may not be over here brown nosing or kissing your ass like Dave, but I'm still doing the same thing. So yeah, it kind of makes you feel a certain way when you hear that. Dude, for real, Yobi, yeah, KOTOR is a damn good game. Um, See, that's where I haven't got Ubisoft Plus yet. I know, like, that's one thing Ubisoft has going for it, but see, here's the thing with Star Wars games, I always play them like 2, 3 times over. So I'm just like, I'm not worried about buying that game. So there's that. Yeah, everybody at Poison. See, Mickey, you gotta play Outriders with us. But what do you like?
I'll reload it.
What do you think about, like all the things that are just like every time we get a game release on Xbox, it's always the same damn effing story. Should have been like PlayStation. And as much as
I
like
don't pay I don't pay attention to that stuff, dude.
I know you
I
don't, do you see it
I
though?
don't. Well, because so here's the deal. Because I don't really pay attention to it, I really don't. Because I don't see it. I don't really read the articles and stuff unless I'm reading Google or something. But very rarely do I see any articles come up about stuff like that. So it doesn't matter to me. That stuff is just it is what it is, and whatever they say is whatever they say. I don't pay attention to that shit. It just doesn't faze me.
Well, I guess the one thing that I just want to see, it's a little difficult in the fact that are you aware of it? Do you know it exists? Like, because there is
No,
this
because
debate.
I don't pay attention to it, so I don't see it. See,
See, that's where
you
I'm.
do the reading and stuff. I don't, which is why I don't see that stuff. I don't know about it until you actually tell me about
See, that's the where like maybe I'm like, and that's where I never want to like taint your perspective, and that's where it's more like, I guess, if you ever get the chance, because it's more like we're all wondering if the Xbox tax is real. Is it a figment of our imagination, or is there any weight to the concept of the Xbox tax that game journalists grade Xbox's games on a curve because like they grew up with Nintendo, Sega, and eventually PlayStation. Sega went away, and then Microsoft tried to come in with the Xbox, and it's like there's this love-hate relationship with a Microsoft product because, like Windows, Internet Explorer, and all this other stuff that people grasp at whenever they talk about, what they like and don't dislike about Microsoft. And it just really feels that because PlayStation was there for a lot of these gaming journalists um, growing up, that they have a little bit of a biasness towards Xbox because they're like the new kid at school, the new kid on the block. And, it's like everybody's always at least it feels like they're always looking to grade on a curve. Like I will never forget that one review site that, Hellblade 2, and the review site literally said, I mean, not Hellblade 2, oh my God, Hi-Fi Rush. And the review site literally put in the review, Hi-Fi Rush is an amazing game. Hi-Fi Rush is exactly what we needed to see come out of Xbox. But because we are not happy with how many games Xbox put out last year, and because we're not happy with Xbox overall as a company, we're actually going to give them a bad review to teach Xbox a lesson.
I mean, who gave them the power of? Who gave them the power of opinion? You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it goes beyond like everybody has an opinion, but like I said, I'm like our gaming media overlords. Like they're over here trying to be like, we need to punish Microsoft. Really?
So
Like, do you really think that Satya Nadella went home that night and like drank himself into a stupor because your review was not what he expected? No. That dude went home, did not give a shit, and then you found out a year later he's going to shut down freaking Tango Gameworks. You guys basically caused that man to shut down a studio. You didn't teach him a lesson. You caused people their jobs.
So the thing is that's the difference, like between us and why we have this setup, is because you're feet deep in the info, or you're knee deep in the info, because you're very aware of what's going on. But when you don't really look into it or pay attention to it, it's almost as if it's non-existent, because I don't see it, so it's like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. Not that it's not there, but since I'm not paying attention to it, I don't really see it, so I either don't understand it or I'm just, almost just like kind of don't care, because I'm just trying to enjoy the games and not worry about all the drama and the politics and all that garbage. So I try to stay in my lane of just playing the games and enjoying them, rather than, listening to all those freaking, gaming journalists and stuff that think that their opinion is the grade A diamond. Yeah. So I don't pay attention to that stuff, man. My information literally is from you.
Mickey, Microsoft said that you guys are supposed to start funneling money to me. Centurion 1307.
Again, I don't read that stuff,
Live
so
account is open. Not playing.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, but no, but you would agree though that there is definitely drama and politics at play in the background.
Well, of course there is, because it's a big part of
anything
of I guess life or whatever, because
like
video games are a big part of a lot of people's lives, like ours, because we grew up gamers. We're gamers. Gaming is a big part of our lives. So yeah, of course there's politics and all that mess.
Well, it also
absolutely
like Ford versus Chevy, Ferrari.
I mean, I'm not
versus Lamborghini.
I'm not blind and dumb to knowing that stuff is going on. It's just I just don't pay attention to it, because I'm trying to play the games and enjoy them and not worry about that mess.
When it comes to a game review, how about this? How do you feel like a game review should be done? Should a game review be done by the guy that, like let's use Paul Tassi, for example. Big reviewer, big guy over at Forbes. And he came out and said that, it's a very beautiful game graphically, this, that, and the other. But he did wanted to put in his thing, but these games really aren't my cup of tea. And so I'm not going to really get the enjoyment out of this game that I should, because I don't prefer this style of gaming. And that's where I'm just kind of like, so did you review the game for clout? And basically, maybe you should have allowed a person who has probably maybe a deeper connection to games like this, somebody that's an advocate for like mental health, or somebody who really enjoys like graphically superior games through Unreal Engine 5, or using the metahuman technology in Unreal Engine 5, and just how Ninja Theory is really pushing the envelope and the industry forward on creating extremely lifelike human like graphics in video games. But
personally,
like, how do you feel it should be done?
I don't think there should be game reviews.
Really?
I think the only thing is that the people who run the studios that do the games should just put the games out there trailers, maybe a little gameplay or something, but reviews are opinions. And there's so many different opinions. A review, if someone's like, well, the game's not that good, well, that's maybe your opinion on it, but that's not everybody's opinion on it. And that's my problem with journalism, is because it's all opinions, and they warp it to their opinion, and it's not really fair to the game, because what's not good for someone might be good for someone else. So to me, game reviews are just, if it was just a basic review, this is what the game's about, that's different. But that's not what most of the reviews are. They're giving their opinion, saying where the game is not that great. I don't like this about it, whatever. It shouldn't be that. It should be, if there is a game review, just review the game. Just a little bit about what it's about. This is the basis of the game. Here's, kind of the attack, how you attack, the powers, the magic, the whatever the case may be. But the opinions are what warp the game itself, because then too many people get wrapped up in it and, into the opinion, and then their opinions start getting based upon what that person's opinion was.
Well, with the gaming journalist, there's also a double-edged sword, because here's the thing. So, like, a Mickey, imagine you're a gaming journalist and Sony flies you out to Sony Santa Monica, and you get to spend a couple days there, see what they're working on, whining, dining. They give you all these cool things to take home, like statues and.
I would be 100% honest with them. I'm not gonna fucking tickle their balls and tell them their game's great. I'm not gonna do that.
Okay, well, we all heard Mickey will not be doing any tickling. But now here's the thing. There's some of these reviewers and like influencers, reviewers, and gaming media journalists that get up in their feelings, and they're just like, oh man, if I'm objective and I tell them something truthfully that they don't like, I might not ever have this again. I gotta tell them, like, it's kind of like, those influencers. It's like what'd you say?
I said tough titty.
It's like those influencers that were like, Redfall's a great game. Then the game releases and it's like, well, I knew they were going to have problems with the game. I could see things when I was doing the demos at Arcane Austin. Why didn't you freaking tell them? Were you too busy kissing their ass?
Too, Phil, is that when you say journalist, they should be called influencers as well. They shouldn't be journalists. Because what's an influencer?
I know, and influencers, I think, do a better job anymore than the gaming media.
Well, influencers, if you actually think about the word, they're influencing people, which is basically using their opinions to help the other people make upon their opinions, or to feed their opinion on like a game. That's what influencing is. So I wouldn't even call him a journalist. I'd call them an influencer, because that's what they all are.
So Vanny Rudy, I don't know if anybody here knows about ACG, Angry Centaur Gaming, Jeremy Pittner. That man does some of the best game reviews ever. And the funny part is with ACG is he has one rule. He does not like receiving free games. When developers do give him a game for him to review, he will actually do a giveaway of that game to his subscribers through like his Patreon and other stuff, where he literally buys a copy of the game to give it away to his to raffle it off to one of his subscribers, because he absolutely refuses to not get free games. Because I like that. Gaming, Vanny Rudy put in chat, gaming journalists should not receive free games. They should purchase games like everyone else. Well, we saw when Suicide Squad did IGN dirty, basically not giving them a review code. IGN even, oh, well, there's going to be consequences for this. And IGN loves trying to show the flex that they got on being a bully, and somehow they're like the Don Juan of gaming journalism, and that, like, if you don't give me a review code, you're going to be sleeping with the fishes kind of stuff. Like, because even Yobi put in the chat, even one journalist said a while back on IGN that Xbox will suffer the consequences because he got mad because they made one third-party game exclusive, Manchildren. And we all know the game we're talking about, Starfield, where the guy literally ragged on Starfield because he was mad that Xbox, here's the thing. Here is the absolute double effing standard. PlayStation literally was throwing money on the table trying to make Starfield exclusive. If that would have happened, we would have got all the little claps and the cheers, like, that's right, PlayStation flexing once again. Xbox pulls out their much larger checkbook, and they buy Bethesda, preventing that from even happening, and they get exclusivity on Starfield. And now all of a sudden, you guys are just a bunch of bullies with a checkbook. That's kind of not nice. What? Really? Like, that is the epitome of a double standard. Like, I have to laugh at that. That's why when we see the whole conversation of, like, the Xbox tax isn't real, how, like, you know what the funny part is? It's kind of like, if the Xbox tax wasn't real, we wouldn't be able to find instances of, like, this occurring. And then you just try to somehow fabricate it out of, like, oh, that was like a one-off situation, or that guy, blah, blah, blah. You make excuses when it's, like, literally trying to cover up the fact that there is things that point to the fact that Xbox is graded on a curve. And that's the problem. And, like, so the only reason why I'm not sitting here trying to be like, I'm an Xbox guy, but this is the problem with having a double standard. People like you and I, the vast majority that are going to hear the sound of my voice in this podcast, if you and I go out and do something stupid and get arrested for it, we're about to have our lives changed. We're talking fines. Depending on what happened, you could have mandatory jail time in some instances. Like, if you get picked up for a DUI, like, dude, like, look at some of the people that got picked up for embezzlement and stuff like that. Martha Stewart got sent to, like, a freaking prison that was considered like a resort compared to, like, no, I say put some of these guys in actual public facility. And that's the funny part. They're like, well, do you realize if we put Martha Stewart in a public facility, she could get injured in there? She shouldn't have done what she did. It sucks that she has to be put in a situation that people might actually stab her with a toothbrush. Like, I'm just like, if you don't want to end up in there, don't do fraudulent stuff. Or it's like when you see these, like, football stars that get off on pretty heinous stuff. Like, we just recently saw a celebrity dragging a woman through a hotel freaking lot, like the hallway of a hotel. I don't know about you, but if
he's already up shit creek, so
we all know. But at the same time, I'm just saying that, like, but the funny part is he's still out walking around. If somebody like you or I did that,
that's true.
You know what I mean?
True.
And that's the biggest problem of having a double standard, is people should be treated equally. Games should be reviewed equally. Publishers should be treated equally.
The difference between that, though, is those guys have money, and money can hide stuff until it doesn't.
Money can hide stuff.
That's why they got away. He got away with that stuff.
But money, but also it goes down to popularity. Sometimes popularity will get you away too. Kind of like what happens with PlayStation, like that whole double standard of, like, well, it'd be great if PlayStation got Starfield exclusive, but Xbox getting PlayStation exclusive, that's just bad. That's bad. That's kind of messed up. Microsoft has too much money. They can afford everything. It's not right. They're bullying PlayStation. Really? That to me, it's like, dude, if one person is allowed to do it, then the other person should be allowed to do it and have you shouldn't get up in your feelings and try to somehow create a double standard or eh, like like what is the
That's the way
epitome.
it should be. Unfortunately, the world
I know,
doesn't
but
work that way.
that's the way it should be. But that's why I say, like, I'm not over here making the argument because I'm an Xbox guy. I actually play on everything. It's just
Mm-hmm.
for me, and about the stuff I've gone through. I just
Mm-hmm.
believe people should be treated equally, like all the way.
Should be. It's true.
You know
Should
what?
be.
Base Digi. I actually love a good underdog story. I love uh I suggest gaming journalists should be allowed to publish reviews after the game. See, yeah, that I actually say that I do agree, Vanny Rudy, that gaming journalists and influencers alike should not be allowed to get early review copies so that way they can drop their reviews day one. Because honestly, I feel that if you don't have the ability to do like for them to do that day one, people really have the choice to go out and buy a game day one without having some gaming journalist putting out an article be like, don't waste your money because
They want their opinion out there first. That's
well,
why they're they race to get those so they can put
but
their
that
little article out there and be the first one to
but the
to
hilarious part
post
is
it.
Bethesda actually if I'm right, Bethesda is actually known for not handing out review copies.
Good.
And they're not and you're
That's
not
good.
they kind of like try to be like, no, you get to enjoy the game the same time our players do, and you can just
Hmm.
give people like um
Really, that's the way it should be too. So
what game was it that came out? um I forget what game it was that happened on PlayStation, and they basically halted their review. They were like, "Oh, this game needs a couple patches. It's really not in a great state right now, so we're going to wait until they patch it to do our review." We have actually seen that. But if Xbox, we all saw what happened with Redfall. Oh my god, the game needs serious patches. This is wrong, that is wrong. It's in a horrible state. The game's a piece of shit. That was the review. But for certain PlayStation games, or because they're PlayStation, they're like their PlayStation mistress. Basically, they don't want to upset her, and they essentially are like, "Oh, it's okay, baby. We'll wait for you to fix the game. Don't worry. I won't release my review yet." So that's like, speaking of reviews, let's kind of like get into another crux of something that I don't feel like. Days Gone. Yes, Days Gone. And here's the crappy part, based it. I need to actually give Mickey my copy of Days Gone for PlayStation 4 so he can try that game out. He's never played it yet. That game literally got the crappy end of the stick because that was a great game. But because of the issues that it had, it didn't review well. And also the other thing is there was even some ideology stuff with that game. Like, I remember I forget which site it came from, but the reviewer opened their review with, "Here we are yet again, another game with a white male protagonist." Wow, we're already bringing sexism and race into it. We're not even through the first paragraph. This is gonna be a barn burner of a review. Dude, like, well, we already know where this review's going. I'm done. I'm like, as soon as I read that, I was like, I'm done. Nope, you're burnt. I don't care about your political associations or your ideology. Just tell me what you thought about the game when it came to mechanics, and did it function well? There was bugs in the game. The bugs needed to be patched out.
that's how the reviews should be. It's just like that.
Exactly.
That's
Like,
how the reviews should be.
dude,
Absolutely.
when you're on a publication, it's one thing if you go on your YouTube channel and you want to talk about your political alignments or your ideologies for your fan base that actually like who you are as a journalist. But when you actually release, it's like when you release it's like watching your favorite television show. If you like the actor that plays your favorite character, you go follow them on social media and you get in tune with their ideology. But at any time, I didn't see Richard Dean Anderson in Stargate SG-1 telling me about who the hell he's voting for president in the middle of the damn show. Just saying.
True.
So, like, that's where, so the review process right now, speaking of influencers, this is where we're going to kind of like I'm going to expose a few things to Mickey. This is why I left him in the dark, because like we all saw it, TikTok ban. We're going to kind of like get into this conversation where this is just the no duh part of it. But then we're going to start getting into how the TikTok ban is actually going to affect gaming. And you're probably wondering like how it's going to affect gaming. And we're going to go beyond just simple stuff down to downright this is going to have some implications on companies like Epic Games. So getting into it, Mickey, we'll just first start with this. TikTok has actually been a great source for streamers and other individuals that just want to do a quick review for a gaming product. It's also been a great source for, like we were talking about, developers and publishers that don't have a huge like slush fund for marketing campaigns, where they can go and do these little small little clips and like ERPs of, you know, their next big game they got coming out, or a game mechanic in the game. There's actually a lot of great gaming content out there on TikTok. We all know that there is a vast majority of people that can sit there all day long watching TikToks. The TikTok itself is a black hole that you can like slip into and watch tons and tons of cat videos and video game videos for hours on end. And then all of a sudden you come out of the black hole and you're like, oh my God, it's been like 3 hours. But like, if for starters, the one thing that if TikTok is banned, we are going to see the gaming media journalists get even more power, because it's like slowly but surely, if it's not on YouTube, there's no other source to get video game information outside of YouTube other than from gaming media sites, where they all seem to be in love with the sound of their own voice. And that,
well, technically they could still use like Instagram and stuff like that.
They can
too.
use Instagram, but that's where that's where I don't know. I really don't know if like a lot of people are going to flock to Instagram, especially after like how they've become
apparently
accustomed.
Instagram is still pretty big though, dude.
Right,
like,
but
there's a lot of people that go through it.
So with TikTok, it like there's like a whole community to TikTok, like with the TikTok shop.
Well, TikTok's easy because, like you said, it's, you know, they can do like quick little, you know, little reviews or write-ups or whatever of, you know, or the developers can just throw a, you know, a clip on the game, like the developer for the Hypercharge.
Right, now TikTok,
you know, because I've seen clips and stuff of the game and stuff, and you know that's cool, you know, because that's gonna help. So
TikToks also are a little bit more, don't have as much production value behind them. So that's the thing. For starters, I have done videos on TikTok here and there. And TikTok is mainly geared and focused towards, creating videos on your phone and editing them on your phone. And it's not like your traditional YouTube sense where you film a video, edit it in DaVinci or Adobe, whatever your favorite video editor is, clean it up, really make it this perfect production with if you try to do that on TikTok, you got to, for starters, like, this is what's weird about it. You don't have as much control when you try to upload something on your off of your PC onto TikTok as you do with doing it off your phone. So you can go, like, the people that do these huge production value stuff on their phone, I like applaud you, because I'm like, oh my God, I think I'd lose my damn mind trying to put that much time and effort into making a video on my phone. And it's
But
even
here's
happened to my
here's the
wife.
thing too, though, is that TikToks are minutes. YouTube videos you can do for over an hour or
Well,
more.
they have
So
YouTube shorts
so
now.
TikToks are just for looking, watching it, and then swiping.
So
YouTube is for actually sitting there looking and watching, and watching like a full, like a full on video, where TikToks just kind of a clip it.
right now, but they are
Whereas,
experimenting with longer form content. With TikTok, you are, I believe, able to have up to a 10-minute video now. And for certain creators on TikTok, they actually get paid more for longer form content as long as the people keep watching it.
so, well, yeah, because that's why they tell you that they want you to watch the whole video, because that's how they get their, that's part of the monetary part of it. But it's still minutes, whereas YouTube, you can do hours. TikTok was originally just for, in the beginning, I think it was just for like little clippets, like a lot of people did, like little humor clippets, and they didn't last very long, and then you swiped. That's what TikTok is watching something quickly and then swiping. Now, obviously, they want you to watch the whole video because, again, monetary, whatever. But YouTube is
So
more extended videos, where where you have the time to, to clean it up, to make it look good, to you, like you said, use whatever program, to make something nice. TikTok, because it's only in minutes, it's not, you don't necessarily need to really clean it up and butter it up, because it's you have to kind of, it's kind of like a base, how much time you're going to put in for like a 3-minute clip. If you're going to put in the time, you put it on YouTube, because then it's longer, and it's
oh, dude, there's some long clips on
you know what
there.
I mean?
Like, I'll have to send you the one of, dude, did I send you the one of Master Chief in Mexico?
I don't think I've seen that one yet.
The
No.
one where he's in Mexico looking for aliens?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I got it, dude. The guy who did that production, that was funny as hell. And like, I mean, very tasteful. It's not as bad as you think. Like, when you're like, what? Like, when he's like when you hear him go, "I'm here looking for aliens," and he's like, "Whoa, man, freaking!" And they're destroying they're stealing our resources and destroying people's lives. And the guy, he's like, "Whoa, man, that's being a little dramatic about it, don't you think?" and like,
That's funny.
dude, like, you hear that the guy's like, what? Like, then they start arguing between each other. Like, man, they sent RoboCop over here. They're taking immigration seriously.
That's funny.
I'll have to send it to you, dude. I was laughing so freaking hard. I'm like, this dude right here, this guy, get him on Saturday Night Live,
Some of
right?
those
Get this
people are
man on
freaking. They
Saturday Night
are
Live.
funny. That shit's funny.
uh, No, you can edit. So here's the thing: you can edit stuff on a computer, but if you want to use any of their audio library or their like their effects and stuff like that, it's all on the phone, all on the phone. And the other big thing too, like, which is really weird, Mari, thank you for tuning in, by the way. So I actually use a lot of music from a company called Epidemic Sound. And they're a really great company. Never had issues with my music. I've never got like DCMA'd, copyright claimed for any of the music that I've used with them. And no, I'm not sponsored or plugging for them. I'm just saying, like, if you guys do content creation, don't fall into the trap of the, royalty free, copyright free stuff that's all over YouTube. I've even, if memory serves me right, I think one of the videos on 4G TV got a copyright claim for a song out of the YouTube audio library. And because they basically tell you when you use music like that, use at your own risk, because at any time the audio can be copyrighted at any time, and then they can give you a strike. I've used Epidemic Sound now for years, and they will, like, anything that I create during my subscription will always have the license for that music. I don't got to worry about it ever being stripped or changed. And they've done a really good job about that. But now the weird part is, for whatever reason, TikTok made it to where I can only use 30 seconds of any song off of Epidemic Sound. So if I create a 1-minute video for TikTok, I can only use 30 seconds of each one of, I would have to use 2 songs and 30 seconds of each one of those songs. And I would have to pre-do everything and get everything right before I can upload it to TikTok off of my computer. But if I wanted to use any of their like effects or other stuff in the background, I would have to really do it I would have to essentially do it off of the phone, which, my wife does that stuff. And I've seen her work 20-30 minutes on a video and then accidentally hit the back button and it just gets all erased. I felt so sorry for her, because I know what that's like when you like lose hours of, well, you like, for me, losing hours of time and work, but for her it was 30 minutes. But I guess to really go into the big issue, because obviously the night is drawing on and I don't want to put Mickey to sleep here. So the big thing that we need, the big crux of the problem is, yeah, we can talk about all day long about like influencers on TikTok and how it really works. But that's where there was 2 articles that came out that are a little bit under the radar. Both of them are basically, one of them was actually done by somebody who's a game industry executive. And both of these articles is the TikTok ban in the US and its potential impact on the gaming industry. And that's where, so essentially this whole thing, so that's where's it at here? The ban was basically put into Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. Isn't that a mouthful for starters? And as of right now, the 2 names in that whole thing are ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, and TikTok themselves. Those 2 companies were named specifically in that legislation. But in that legislation, they did kind of like what they're saying is there is some companies, like they're even talking about PUBG Mobile and Fortnite with Epic Games. Okay. The law signed by the administration mentions ByteDance and TikTok, but also could be applied for other companies controlled by a foreign adversary. So for starters, foreign adversary is left open to interpretation. If the government here in the United States walks in and says, nope, they are a threat to, basically, they're a threat to, what's the word I'm looking for? Our country, basically, if they're a threat to our country,
to our security,
yeah. Like, I mean, it's like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but if they're a threat to our security, they're considered a foreign adversary that's a threat to us, So therefore, we can start saying that they're not allowed to do business with us and we're not allowed to do business with them, similar to sanctions. And this is where it says if they meet a certain criteria, such as having 1 million monthly active users. And by the way, the president determines who poses a threat to national security. And that's where it gets more into, like, where's the other article? Dude, like, it gets into the weeds. Um, privacy and data privacy and security concerns. The scrutiny of TikTok could lead to increased data privacy regulations across all apps, particularly those dealing with sensitive user data. Companies might need to enhance their data protection measures, affecting development timelines and operational costs. And then they also talk about like situations with like Epic Games. So Epic Games actually has a substantial shareholder from Tencent. And if you know anything about the entertainment industry, Tencent is definitely a big player and they are a Chinese owned company. And like, I'm not over here trying to say this person's bad or that person's bad. What I'm trying to get at is imagine after TikTok gets banned, we start seeing other platforms that have huge fan bases from either a Chinese company doing business in the United States or a United States business doing business in, because it's retaliatory. Oh, you're going to ban our product. We're going to ban your product because apparently we're adversaries now. So that means all the American developers that have huge followings for games over here in China, they're not allowed to have your product, just like they're not allowed to have our product. And then all of a sudden you see games like League of Legends, Fortnite, and other games essentially have their fates taken out of their control. And essentially now all of a sudden we got to play the game of, like, you remember like when we're growing up as kids, we all heard that speech from, stay away from them. They're bad. They're bad people. Stay away from them. Now we're getting that brought into, like, we play games to get away from all the craziness that takes place in the world. And now all of a sudden it seems like it's like invaded it. And that's where like a lot of people just see the TikTok ban as like, oh, it's TikTok. It's just an app. It's going to go away. This is literally a little bit of a Pandora's box, because essentially you have created a set of legislation that can be enforced on other companies. And with how big gaming is, and just, like, literally, if you look at it, there's a lot of American and European developers that put their products over in the Asian market. And there's a lot of products made in the Asian market when it comes to gaming that are distributed in the European and American markets. It's kind of like a coexistence between everybody. And this legislation has the potential to like undermine a lot of it. What do you think, Mickey?
I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with the TikTok ban and which direction it goes.
Now trying to fight it, but it does make you wonder, especially like a game like Fortnite. Like, what is the one thing Fortnite does with Epic Games? They collect consumer data by their name, date of birth, credit card numbers, and according to, like, this is the
to be honest with you, most of everything does that.
Exactly.
I mean, in reality, but if they really wanted to point the finger, they could point the finger at so many.
Oh, I know. But now they're like over 1 million users. Okay, well, now we're really starting to go down that path. So, like, what people don't realize is, so this is like what's going on with like TikTok. People put in their name, birth date, and since the inception of the TikTok shop, credit card numbers. All that data is stored on servers. Now, at one point in time, those servers were actually offshore and a little bit more in the Asian part of the world. Apparently, there was a big deal about that and a huge stink because apparently them having access to that data, um, apparently the Chinese government really wants to know how many times I watch cat videos. So at any rate, they were like, no, 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 national security, you can't store American data over there. So they paid to have, at least from what I read, they paid to have data centers put over here, and they were storing all the data over here. Then all of a sudden, the goalpost moved. Well, people from over in the Asian government over there, they could peek at the data. There's no evidence to prove that they're peeking at the data. You know what the funny part is? I love how everybody's just like national security, blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure that all they got to do is turn on TikTok over there, and they could watch people eating Tide Pods, eating way too much canned cheese, uh, dressing up their cats and dogs in the really amazing costumes, watching gameplay. Like, you could literally learn everything you need from the World Wide Web without having to even look at anybody's data. You could literally just like turn it on and be like, wow, they are crazy over there. But you know, you get it. But then all of a sudden they're like, no, no, no. So you're a threat to security because now there's potential for somebody to be peeking at the data. Okay, well, here we go. So now they created this legislation because they are really trying to be like, every time they move the goalpost, ByteDance tried to be like, all right, well, we followed the new rules. Now they're just like, you know, we're just gonna ban you. We can't do it anymore. You know, we can't do it anymore. You know, you keep playing ball. We don't want you to play ball. We just want you to go away. And that's where it leads it open to other companies like Epic Games. They are technically an American company, but because they have these stakeholders from Tencent, who's to say all of a sudden with Epic Games over here and they store all the consumers' data over here in the States, what happens if all of a sudden somebody over in Congress, I was like, well, what if Tencent's peaking? Now we've opened Pandora's box because literally we're essentially creating legislation on the concept that they could be peeking at the data. So if we're going to be doing stuff like that, that's why I said this legislation has a little bit of a Pandora's box to it, because literally it could technically create situations where all of a sudden the fate of certain games hang in the balance. Because like, what if they go after Epic Games? Like, we saw that whole thing today. Like, there was a thing on the internet that like Xbox was going to purchase Steam and blah blah blah. We're not going to go down those roads, but it would take a company like Microsoft or Sony, because Sony at least is not considered a foreign adversary because they're a Japanese based company. But the funny part is, for that is what happens if they decide to take this towards Epic Games? What happens with Tencent's investment into Epic Games? Does like Epic Games have to like buy out Tencent's shares? Can Tencent sell their shares to somebody to like, would they be willing to do that? Or could it tank the company? Because I think like, I forgot, like it was like, I want to say it was like between 25 and 40% of, you know, Tencent's investment into Epic Games. So I'm just kind of like, where does that put companies like Epic Games and other companies that have these huge investments, and you literally hang on the balance of a group of men and women that have little like skin in the game when it comes to gaming in general? Could these individuals even turn a game console on if their life depended on it? And they're over here now dictating to us over who we're allowed to, who's allowed to make our games or have any interaction with our games.
I don't know. It's kind of a big what if right now. So I mean,
Oh no,
Again, me, I,
no,
you know,
10 cent.
it's
So Mari, Tencent has been somebody that I've always warned that you don't need to be worried about Google. Like Google tried to come in and they fell on their face in the gaming world. Amazon, maybe they're hopping around on one leg. I'm not too sure, especially with Luna and whatnot. But you are right. Tencent does hold shares in almost every major gaming company. And by the way, go watch some of your the last Transformers movies. I think it started with like the one before Bumblebee, but some of the Transformer movies were also heavily financially backed by Tencent. So Tencent's also heavily invested in Hollywood. Anyways, what were you saying, Mickey?
oh nothing. I said what I was going to say, so it's all
No,
good.
what? I'm sorry. What did you say? I was reading the chat. How about that?
No,
Like,
I was just saying that it's just kind of a what ifs right now. So
it's definitely
you
what
know,
ifs,
it's
but it's one of those things where it's like I don't want like that's why I guess I'm one of those that are just wanting to bring um what's the word I'm looking for? At least attention to the situation that you do have potentially, like I put in the thumbnail, trouble ahead. Something is brewing on the horizon. And I'm just saying that if this TikTok ban does go through, this does create a little bit of a situation where one day we could open up our phones and read about how now all of a sudden they're wanting to go after yet another company using this legislation, when the legislation was originally designed and created to battle TikTok, but they did leave it open for it to be used in other instances.
well, uh, me. I'm just gonna wait and see because I mean I'm not gonna I'm not gonna I don't know what's gonna happen, and
Oh, I know
you
you don't
know
like. I know my
the
crystal
the
ball
U.S.
wore
and
out too.
China are kind of like a couple. They used to be a couple. Now they're broke up and they're kind of pissed at each other. That's kind of what it seems like to me. So I don't know that anything's really going to come out of the TikTok thing, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
See, that's the other thing. Like we're over here talking about inflation, and we got to help the economy and whatnot.
Hmm.
Dude, you shut down TikTok, you're gonna be like literally killing people's businesses.
That's true, but yeah, it's I don't know. Don't
I
know,
know.
but they just it's ridiculous stuff.
And that has been your Crazy and Casual Podcast Financial Hour, brought to you part by Charles Schwab. No, I'm playing. We're providing fiduciary services.
That's right.
But
That was funny.
you know what? Yeah, so let's start it out. I mean, like, let's end it here. Thank you, everybody who did come in and check out the show tonight.
Thank
Again,
you all. We appreciate it.
it definitely is appreciative. It's always fun just to kind of have these conversations. We
Hmm.
always try to tackle it from a different perspective. I'm not like over here just totally like I bleed green and they can do no wrong, and PlayStation is trash. I believe we both believe every game company has something to offer at the table. And that's why
Absolutely.
competition is great for the gaming industry. And I always want there to be competition. I always want there to be flexibility, creativity, and innovation across the industry from everybody. And and I don't want to see my hobby, the things that help me forget about all the craziness that goes on in the world, slowly become some political frickin'
That's
dog and
true.
pony show
That
because
is true.
apparently, just because my government can't get along with a different government doesn't mean like innocent people like game developers that probably don't have any frickin' say so over what goes on in those situations essentially get freaking, put in a bind because of it. So, you mean Tencent, the company
That is
that
true.
almost owns half the gaming industry, and they throw a hissy fit when Microsoft wants to buy something? Well, that's funny. Well, that's because that's their main source of competition when it comes to buying stuff. They know not too many people can buy stuff like them. So, but thank you, everybody. I'm Phil Centurion 1307. This is my little cohort. This is my cohort, Mickey. He's not little. He actually is like over almost 6.5 foot tall. Like when he hangs around me, I got to look up at him. But
thank you all for showing up. We really appreciate you guys being here with us.
So yeah, guys, really appreciate it. Till next time, everybody. Remember, just play what you want, wherever you want, no matter what anybody says. That whole shtick, and until next weekend, everybody. Stay safe out there and just keep having fun.
Peace.